Beat the lineup. Kirkwood's gone in.
Western Rocket ready.
Horse Chestnut goes in. They're ready to race.
The World Sports Betting Cape Town Met, one of the most iconic horse racing events of all time. Crowds of enthusiastic fans and racegoers gather to soak up the glamour, excitement and entertainment. A day where fashion meets sport and the spirit of competition electrifies the air. For over a century, the World Sports Betting Cape Town Met has been a cornerstone of South African culture. It's a day where legends are born, dreams come alive, and history is made. With every thunderous stride, horses and jockeys write their names into racing folklore. Spectators are left breathless by the sheer spectacle of it all. Beyond the track, the Met is a celebration of life and style, where fine dining, dazzling fashion, and the pulse of live entertainment come together in perfect harmony. It is more than a race. It's a legacy etched into the spirit of horse racing. A celebration of champions, passion, and the stories that will forever captivate our hearts. Experience the magic that has made the World Sports Betting Cape Town Met an enduring symbol of greatness. Here's to the moments yet to come and the legends still waiting to be made.
Jet Dog got there where it mattered most.
Double Superlative has won the World Sports Betting Cape Town Met.
And a very warm welcome to our World Pool viewers. We've got racing here in the Western Cape, South Africa. It is Met, and we really are excited to bring you some high quality racing. Great panel of guests, and we're going to start with introducing them from my far right, and that's Graeme Hawkins. Graeme, once again, thanks very much for joining us. We look forward to you being with us on the day as well.
Thank you, Grant. Always a pleasure to be here.
Nice racing on the day.
Fantastic racing, high quality, World Pools, races 6 through 12. Lots to look forward to. Quite apart, of course, from the headline.
And quite competitive as well.
Very competitive. You're going to hear the recurring theme through the day. Many with winning chances.
Excellent stuff. Our next panelist is going to be Brett Crawford, one of the Cape's leading trainers and also trainer of the July winner this year in Oriental Charm. He lines up for us once again here in the Cape Met. Brett, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure, Grant.
Nice racing. Got some nice runners on the day.
Well, we've got a few that should be competitive, but it looks like a hard card. But looking forward to the weekend.
Excellent stuff. Next panelist is Mark van Deventer. You would have seen all his selections, his comments, his race previews, and he'll be the person that's been behind the pen on that front. Mark, first time for the World Pools. Welcome, and nice day's racing ahead of it.
Thanks, Grant. Happy to contribute. Fascinating racing. I've done a deep dive into the form, and it's very challenging, but plenty of opportunities.
And our final panelist, and this is a face you certainly will recognize, and that's Justin Snaith. I think he's been on every panel since World Pools have been here in South Africa, and he's presented us with quite a few decent winning opportunities as well. Justin, you're leading the title race once again. Congratulations on that, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Grant. Still a long way to go, but it does look like we're quite far ahead, so certainly not going to give it up easily, and looking forward to, for us as a yard, looks like it could be one of those days, meaning that it's either something phenomenal or it could be really bad. So,
well, you've got a number of runners in
so I'm really hoping that it's the latter.
All right, let's go into the betting for our first race. And here, Naughty Quest is one of the fancied runners at around 8-1. And then you look at some of the other runners. Also in the fancied column will be Summer Lily, around the 6-7-1 mark. And we've also got Kailami Girl, who's at around 6-7-1. I'm going to start with Justin, who certainly is one that's got a runner here called Sidley, and maybe a couple of other runners on the day who's got a chance. Sidley, what do you think of the chances on the day?
Grant, I like that this race is a little bit almost down in class, a little bit for my two fillies, Summer Lily and Sidley, as they are they've been competing in races at weight for age terms and didn't really have much chance in those races, yet they ran right on top of them. In a stakes race, listed race like this, I do think they come into play. Both are doing exceptionally well at home, so there's not much in it. I might give it to Summer Lily a little bit, but I'm so pretty. A 3-year-old in these races, even though they're carrying a lightweight, there are also 4-year-olds carrying lightweight. So as good as sometimes a 3-year-old can look in this race, the older horses are quite hard knocking and are looking for an opportunity in a race like this. So not much in it. Competitive field.
Bit of an outside chance?
Yes, a small outside chance because she is carrying a light weight. And to be honest, I think she's had quite a nice little prep into this race. But as I said, the older horses are ones that I would probably more look to.
Graeme, let's move over to you in terms of this race. I think you like a horse in this race, and tell us why.
Well, firstly, it's one of the more difficult races on the card. And yes, I'm of Justin's runners, I prefer number 8, Summer Lily. She's certainly in my top 4. But I do like Nordic Quest, 58.5 to carry, jumps out of gate 1. She's very game. She's very consistent. She's a high-quality filly. There's a lot of her. She'll carry the weight, and I think she'll give us a very good run for our money at good each-way odds. Amongst the lighter weights, and I hear what Justin had to say, they're carrying light weights, but they are 3-year-olds thrown into the deep end. I do think that Berry's Boogie, number 2, and in particular, number 13, My Sensation. I think her best form is over this sort of distance. I'm expecting My Sensation to finish the race off really well. The pace is going to be on because Candy Town's going to lead them a merry dance in the early stages. Whether she can get home over 1,200 meters, I'm not sure. So my top choice would be Nordic Quest. Summer Lily would be my second choice.
Okay, so that's Graeme Hawkins' selections here. Brett, you don't have a runner, but you obviously know the form of some of these runners. Do you have a preference?
Grant, I think Justin holds a strong hand here, but I do think that the horse to improve is Berry's Boogie. I think 2 very nice wins, very well bred filly, bottom weight, good rider. So, for me, I think she's got to be respected, but probably Summer Lily from Berry's Boogie.
Mark, how do you see the race panning out, and what were your selections from your times?
I'm in sync with Hawkeye. Nordic Quest, I think she'll be primed third up after a break. And, with her being drawn towards the inside, I think she can have a stalk and pounce trip. She's certainly got the speed figures to be competitive. And so she will be an ideal horse to use in Quinellas. Summer Lily, Justin's run, I've got immense respect for as a deep closing sprinter. I think Symphony in White on her juvenile form is also a runner, assuming that she has made the required progress. And then the other horse that I would consider is number 12, Candy Town. Just on the basis that she's got raw speed, and if the track is running fast, she will have them under pressure.
She may get the 1,200 meters there.
Query about that. That's why I've only put her in the 4th slot, but she really is very talented and speedy.
All right, let's move on to race number 7, which will be the Cape Flying Championship, brought to you by the Hong Kong Jockey Club World Pools, a fantastic Group 1 contest. The fastest sprinters in the country line up here, and we've got some betting updates for you as well. So let's take a look at how they've priced up for this race. And one of the fancied runners here, and the favourite for the race, is Dice, who is a previous winner of the race. We've also got Gimme a Prince, who's right up there in the marketplace. There's not much separating those two at around 3-1. And then Grant van Niekerk rides Lucky Lad, who's at 5-1 currently. 5-1 also about Asiya Fambili, who was a winner of her last start as well. Right, let's go straight into Brett Crawford this time round. He has got Sergey, who's a decent sprint on his day as well, and he's got some really good form. 5 furlongs, well, that might just be on the sharp side for him, but Brett, do you agree with that too?
Yeah, Grant, obviously, it's difficult. There is no Group 1 over 6 furlong in the Cape, so we've had to play our cards, and we've opted to go for the 5 furlong. We are fitting cheek pieces to him for Saturday, which I think will make a difference and will help him. He's a class horse. You look at his rating, he's never far off them. And just depending on how the races run, I have no doubt he'll be finishing his race really well. So, yeah, the trip's obviously not quite ideal, but his prep's been really good. He looks amazing, and I'm confident of a bold showing from him.
The horse to beat, maybe.
Well, I think to be fair, I think it's quite open, but, Give Me a Prince, he's only ever run the trip once in this race, which he won. Obviously, he's also gone from a mile, now dropping back down, so probably not ideal. But I do think he definitely has to be respected, along with questioning. Questioning's shown good form since they fitted the blinkers. He's also rated highly at 124. So probably I would say Dice, give me a Prince and questioning.
All right, let's go to Mark now. Mark, in terms of this race, obviously we've got some past winners in the race as well, which is always good to see. It is primarily won by out-and-out 5 furlong horses, isn't it?
Yeah, that would make people lean towards Dice as the defending champion. Give me a Prince. 1,000 might be a bit too short for him. Maybe the Diadem over 1,200 will be optimal. I know Dean Canmay has done a sterling job to keep him in one piece because he's got dodgy knees. Dice is also not the soundest, but so if you take that into account, then maybe questioning is the more dependable of the top horses because he is ultra consistent. So that is one certainly to consider as well. King of the Gauls is a 5 furlong specialist, and that run in the Umgani handicap from a wide draw at Greyville was tremendous. If he can repeat that, then he also ought to be in the fray. And just a quick aside, Grant, I've been following the exploits of a sprinter called Kai Ying Rising in Hong Kong, and he's just been getting off the charts speed figures there. Absolutely phenomenal performer trained by David Hayes, and he's been breaking course records there for fun, gearing down at the finish. He really is a remarkable sprinter.
Yeah, I remember some really good days with South African sprinters competing favourably there as well. So those days will be hopefully coming back soon.
Well, JJ the Jet Plane, the Hong Kong fans will remember him, trained and campaigned by Lucky Hoodalakis, who has done a brilliant job to patch up Dice, the defending champion.
National Currency gave Silent Witness a little bit of a go as well. Justin, you don't have a runner in a sprint race, which is a novel experience in its own right for you.
Yeah, look, I looked at this field and I thought I might want to run one of my 2-year-olds. For me, it's not one of the stronger Group 1s that I've seen in a long time. For me, there is a standout horse because it's a 5 furlong. And there's only one horse in this race that looks like he's suited to 5 furlongs, and that's Dice. And the rest of them, Brett's sprint is a lovely individual, but they almost want 7 furlongs, not 5 furlongs. But because of the depth of this race, there's absolutely no reason not having a go. So for me, standout horse Dice, and yes, all the others could run. If Dice doesn't arrive here, I think anything can win this race. It's that open of a field, and certainly for me, there's just one speedster in this race.
All right, so an open race, Dice does tend to get most of the votes and probably the horse that they're all going to have to beat, but it doesn't just stop there. It's going to be a very interesting contest. Well, our next race is the big one. It is the Cape Met, and this is a race that nearly every South African trainer will want to be victorious in. And it's a cracking field this year once again, and there is a 3-year-old who does seem to stand out a bit. Let's take a look at how they priced up so long and what the betting suggesting is at the moment, and it is that 3-year-old who tops the boards at the moment. That is number 10, 8 on 18, and he's trained by Justin Snaith, so nice to have Justin here to give us some insight. He's currently at 2.5. Next best in the market is at 4.6, and that is See It Again, and you've also got about 4.6, 3.6. Similar type of odds is Oriental Charm, trained by Brett Crawford. So 2 of the leading protagonists in the race. We've got their trainers here as well. So let's take a look at what Brett thinks of his runner, Oriental Charm. This is a horse that actually came through and won the Vodacom July. Brett, how's he been doing? Obviously, he had a little bit of a mishap in the King's Plate. That wasn't really his true form.
No, Granty pulled up with a few aches and pains after the race. So, obviously we had to get back to the drawing board, sort stuff out. But I must say I've been very happy. I think we've turned him around exceptionally well. He's a happy horse. He looks amazing. So we're expecting a much better run from him. Obviously a good gate to bounce from. There does look like there's quite a bit of speed in the race. So we'll just have to anticipate where we're going to fit into that speed. But I must say, I'm very happy with him. I was very concerned after the King's Plate, but very happy, and he's looking well. So happy with his prep.
You've also got another runner down the bottom who's drawn wide, and that's Zapatilis.
Yeah, Zap, He's as honest as they come. I thought his last run was a really good run. He came from quite far back, made up good ground, got beat 1.7. I know there's a few doubters who don't think he'll see the trip. I have no doubt he'll see the trip. We've fitted cheek pieces to him as well because he always seems to hit a flat spot in running, and he looks amazing. And I think he's definitely a horse to be included in your permutations for places. It wouldn't surprise me that he ran into the quartets.
Justin, I've got to come to you now because you've got a 3-year-old in the race along with a bunch of other older horses and a couple of really nice improving horses like Magic Verse as well. But 8 and 18 represents some really strong form lines here. Obviously, the King's Plate winner, One Stripe. He's been the horse that's got closest to him. He must be expecting a big run from him.
Yeah, look, the Guineas didn't quite go our way, to be honest. We were 14 lengths back turning into the straight, and I thought we had the winner. He was faltering. He was starting to hang. Richard thought he'll get him on the line, and unfortunately, the favourite found the outside fence and straightened and just got up on the line. I'd love to have a rematch someday, but that's for another time. There's been a lot of confidence about the horse from a lot of other people. I get the feeling that they all looking at the field thinking, if you put a young horse in this race, it's going to be easy because there's not a lot of depth in this Group 1. But from my side, as a trainer, he hasn't put a foot wrong at home. And if the confidence is right, I do think then there's no reason why he should run a very big race here. But it is hard for a young horse over 2,000. It's one thing winning the Larmoy King's Plate where there was one horse to beat. Here, there's quite a few horses over this distance that are quite competitive. So it's a big ask for a young horse. But do I think he's going to turn into a very good horse one day? For sure. He's got the pedigree of a very smart individual. And if he was ever the horse to showcase some real ability, he is the type of horse that could see himself one day in Hong Kong. So this is the first hurdle that he has to get through. And this is the tester. I think the race is going to plan into his liking. Anything can happen in the race. It can be a slow run race, fast run race. It's not going to bother this young horse. And what I do like, when you do have a horse that's a year younger than everyone else, it's a year of less wear and tear on an individual. He's coming in, he's got no aches and pains. And he's ready to be let loose. The jockey's confidence, I think everyone knows from Hong Kong, Richard Faree, when he's confident, it actually sometimes worries me. He's too confident, but everything's gone right. So from a betting point of view, if he's the horse you like, you can go with him.
In terms of getting the trip, are you concerned at all? Do you think he'll make the 2,000 easily?
There's a lot of speed in the family. I've trained quite a few, but they all got the mile, and he's built like a horse that needs 2,000. And as I said in the Guineas, he just didn't turn it on as quick as the favourite did. But over 2,000 meters, it could be exciting because when they went across the line, a few meters, he was already a few lengths clear. So, no, there's plenty gears here. I'm not worried about any distance.
Of your other runners, who do you think would be next best?
There is a dark horse in this race for me, as a horse that's been extremely unlucky in his career. From the group, the Gold Cup, which was a disaster, to his last 2 runs, he hasn't seen daylight, is a horse Future Swing. At weight for age terms, normally I would say he's not a horse at weight for age terms to be taking on the best horses in South Africa, but there is a few issues with some of the other horses in this race. And for me, he's possibly the best 2,400 meter horse in the country. And if they fluff their lines, he's a horse under the radar. If he sees daylight at the right time, he's my horse that I think, like Brett feels about Zapatilis, I feel exactly the same about Future Swing.
So it's a nice place prospect.
I think so. And if on the pricing, he's way out. And as everyone knows in Hong Kong as well, Grant Finicak, he might not be at work on time, but but that guy can ride. So he's my X factor in the race.
All right, brilliant. Graeme, how do you see the race panning out? I know earlier on you were quite keen on the 3-year-old.
3-year-olds don't often run in the Cape Town Met, but when they do, the statistics are pretty promising. So I'm not concerned that he's a 3-year-old at weight for age terms. As Justin said, he comes into the race without the ills of the older horses, and I think he's very progressive. If he stays, and Justin is confident he stays, then he wins. For me, he brings the best form into the race. Although he's only a two-time winner, of course, he's a classic horse. He ran second to One Stripe, and One Stripe put the older horses firmly in their place in the Lawrence King's Plate. I do also like Future Swing for a top 4 finish. So those are the 2 runners of Justin's that I like, but my firm first choice is 8 on 18. Obviously, respect for Rascallion, for Montine, and also for Oriental Charm. I think that would complete my shortlist, but I'm pretty much all in with 8 on 18.
Mark, now you've heard from both the trainers, you've heard from Graeme, so you've got the easy way to sum up now. How do you see the race panning out? Do you think the 3-year-old can win?
Yes, I think on pure handicapping, if he is indeed a length or so inferior to the sensational One Stripe, and he comes in at 54 and he sees it out, then he is the most probable winner. There is a query, though, Grant, about See It Again, because if you do classical handicapping, then he should be the horse in a true run 2000, but there's a massive conditioning query over him since his up-country travels. But definitely, I think people should look at See It Again seriously. Of the older exposed horses, I think Rascallion is super dependable. He nearly pulled off a massive upset last year in the same race, and he ought to go well. Montien is also a long-striding, athletic horse that merits respect. And then I do agree with Justin's comment that I think a fast run 2000 should set things up nicely for a closer like Future Swing, who's also one of those horses to use in single race exotics.
All right, brilliant. Well, that's the selections from our panelists. What we can find out is that if the 3-year-old brings his A game, he probably could be one of the more better and interesting bets on the card as well. All right, moving on to our next race, and this is the Politician Stakes. It's a Group 3, and it really is a cracking contest here as well. And nice that we've got a couple of really nice progressive young horses coming through here. And Justin can tell us a little bit about his runners. He's got a couple that certainly stand out in this field. Justin, always a nice race to win because it's a nice lead race to a race like the Derby.
Very much so. It's a race that has a very hard race for a young horse to win. The way the race is handicapped also helps a young up-and-coming individual. Well, it used to be a little bit easier for them, not so much now, but a horse like Sail the Sea, Richard had the option of most of my rides here, Richard Furry, and he was on Sail the Sea. Then Sail the Sea galloped with 8 on 18. So if 8 on 18 wins the Met, regulations is going to be very hard to beat. Okay. They galloped together, and when Craig Zaki won on regulation, he got off, he said, I'm riding this in the Derby, which was surprised me because I never felt the same about regulation. Good-looking horse. His brother is a Group 1 winner, but they were just, and Craig did everything to try to get on this horse, and when he couldn't get on it, Richard jumped off, Sailed the Sea. It's a close call. Sailed the Sea worked the house down today as well. They're two very smart individuals. And horses that maybe are going places. I'm still in the grey area whether Richard's made the right move or not. My other horses are all progressive. They're all in this race for a reason. They're all horses that are going to go on and do nice things. So very, very competitive field.
All right, Brett, you don't have a runner in the race, so to speak, but a nice race to be able to see and see which young 3-year-olds are coming through the ranks.
Yeah, very much so, Grant. I think it's quite an interesting race. I think there's a few youngsters that are still very unexposed, and I think will make good improvement. Obviously, Justin's touched on his horses. I think Sail the Seas, I thought his last win was really good, over probably a trip on the short side for him. But obviously, he's got a bit of a tricky draw to overcome. Garrex is a horse that has been impressive. I thought his last start was really good. He came from way back in the field, finished his race off really well. Obviously steps up in trip, but I shouldn't see a problem with that. I think he should be able to get the 9 furlongs, no problem. And then Candice's horse, Major Master, I've been quite impressed with this horse. He's a good-looking horse. I thought he's stepped up with each and every run. And obviously, I don't think he'll have a problem with the trip at all. And then obviously you've got the horse from Upcountry of Lucky's, Wild Intent. His form is pretty good, but it'll be interesting to see him against these Cape 3-year-olds. The other horse which could improve a lot is Platinus or Zeitz. He's also got good form. So I think this is a lot more open than it looks. And I personally will be playing this race a little bit wider.
I think certainly Pinot Grigio also comes into the play if you're liking a little bit of Major Master. Graeme, how do you see it panning out?
Well, I think of the principles, it's wide open, as the betting suggests. I think of the principles, Major Master and Regulation are certain to be comfortably at home over 1,800 metres. And that's key because both Garrix and Sail the Seas, although Sail the Seas has won over 1,600 metres, he's also got winning form over 1,400 metres. Garrix has yet to prove that he'll get this trip, but he's got a lot going for him. Neither Garrix nor Sail the Seas are drawn ideally. So those are the top four as far as I'm concerned. I'm happy to back Richard for his judgment. Hopefully he's made the right call. Regulation, as Justin says, is a 3-parts brother to Bulgarian, who's a former winner of the July. Garrix, huge respect. Major Master will love the step up in trip. Sail the Seas and Zeitz. That would be the short list, but I'm happy to go with Regulation as my top choice, marginally in what I think is a very, very good renewal of the Politician Stakes. We've got lots to look forward to in the Derby, depending on the outcome of this race.
Yeah, cracking contest. Mark, in summary?
Major Master for me, a progressive profile, a very smart potential Derby horse for Bass Racing. Comes in with 55.5, so he's getting a pull at the weights. So he would be my top pick over Garrix, who has flashed some really good come-home sectionals over shorter. Apparently, Garrix may need gelding, but I mean, Pitstein is a very, very canny horseman, so I'm sure he'll get things sorted out. And I do have great respect for Sail the Seas because he's been cranking out some good speed figures over shorter. So 8, 11, 12 would be my top 3, but there are some other lurkers as well.
Politician Stakes, a cracking contest. It is a Group 3 and some wide open opportunities there as well, but I think you could get some value with both Major Master and Garrix. So those two definitely must go into the play. Next race is a Class 4 handicap. It's over 1,400 metres, and Justin Snaith, we'll start with him once again because he's got number 5 Legal Counsel. That's one of the runners. You've got Rachel Venneker on. Bit fitter now, obviously going to be a bit more cherry ripe for this race.
Yeah, look, but he's a bit of a handful. But I think Rachel's the right person. The only chance he had in this race was if he drew well, in my mind, and he drew nicely, so he comes into play. But I do have a few others there that.
Please do true. Richard Free obviously looks like one of the leading lights.
If you show a replay, as I said, for me the track has been tightened up a little bit. It reminds me a little bit of Greyville, where there were a lot of hard luck stories on King's Plate Day, and I'm really hoping that's not going to be the case on Met Day. Just go watch this horse's last run. Never saw daylight.
Would he be your pick of your lot?
On his last run, you would have to. He was just so unlucky, and he still came through the field. And those horses are all gone on to the Politician and things like that. And I've got another horse running on the day, Let It Be Said, that was in front of him. It was a very, very strong field that they all contested on King's Plate Day. So, yes, Please Be True would be certainly the one that Richard has earmarked and could be my pick of the bunch.
Brett, you don't have a run in the race. Any preference from you in terms of what you've seen in the field?
No, I think, for me, I think Justin's biggest danger is going to come from King's Quest. He's a horse that they've rated highly from day one. Obviously, he took a few runs to win, but last time when he won was his first run post-gelding. And I thought he was quite impressive the way that he won. So I think he's the horse with the scope for most improvement. Obviously, both horses have slightly tricky draws, but for me, they're the 2 runners in the race.
Mark, I'll come to you and I'll let Graeme summarise this Class 4 handicap. How do you see this one panning out? Have you got a firm choice here?
I think I might have found a single race exotic tote bust, Grant, but it's a boom or bust selection. Iconic Destination, tremendous as a youngster, running close to champion miler Charles Dickens, had major breathing problems which threatened to scupper his career completely. He has had an operation which reportedly has been very successful, and he showed signs of a revival last time when just failing to hold off Major Master. So Major Master's performance in the preceding race will give us some clue, but I think at a big price, Iconic Destination, if he's been restored to full health, then he could certainly get into the money in a Class 4. I've also got respect for recent winner Green Garnet, who can force the pace from the inside, and that's for top jock Gavin Larena, who has a good strike weight with Eric Sands. And Please Be True. Talking about strike rates, I mean, Justin and Richard, they have a 30% winning strike rate and close to 60% play strike rate. And I think Please Be True has got a progressive form pattern. He should be cranked up third after rest and gelding. So those would be my top three: 13, 10, and 3.
Graeme, over to you to summary.
Thank you, Grant. There's no doubt that number 13, Iconic Destination, could well be the best horse in the race. I mean, he did run second to Dave the King and second to Charles Dickens early in his career. His last run was a cracking effort. It was his second run back. Now he has his third run back. He was off the track for more than a year. All of the problems that he's had to endure have been well described by Mark, so I'm not going to go through those again, but he could well be the best horse in the race. Outside of Iconic Destination, I think the race sets up beautifully for Please Be True, so he's got to be the best of the rest. Respect for King's Quest, Green Garnet, and Commanding, but I think the swinger place, the Quinella Place, Iconic Destination, and Please Be True could be the way to go.
All right, that's the Class 4 handicap. Certainly a race that's well worth getting involved in. Some value to be had here. Next race is a Cape A Stakes. It's over 1,400 meters as well, and really nice races. A couple of interesting 3-year-olds that line up. This time I'm going to start with Graeme in terms of how he sees this race panning out, because there's a couple of nice types in here, and All Out for 6 has got some nice form in some classic races as well.
Nice 3-year-old All Out for 6. He's had to sort of take a back seat behind his stable companion One Stripe on many occasions, so he comes in slightly under the radar, but he certainly has winning credentials here. Justin's got Snow Pilot, who's clearly the best horse in the race, jumps out of the worst gate. But the value I found in the race, I think, is from an each-way perspective, from a place perspective. The distance specialist is number 1, Sugar Mountain. It's going to be tough for him at level weights with Snow Pilot, but he's drawn in gate 1. Snow Pilot's drawn in gate 13. He's won 4 out of 5 starts over track and trip, placed in the other. Coming out of gate 1, I think that Sugar Mountain is the one that could boost the Quinella Place dividends, the Winnan Place dividends. I think you could do worse and go each way in the long shot, but it is up against it at level weights with Snow Pilot. And then there's a horse called the Real Prince in the race, and he commands utmost respect. He's lightly raced 4-year-old. He comes with a huge reputation, and he'll be doing his best work late. So for me, toss up for the win between numbers 1, Sugar Mountain, and 13, Snow Pilot, with number 11, the Real Prince, very much alive.
Justin, you heard Graeme mention Snow Pilot, best horse in the race. He comes in for 1-2-5. The wide draw, a little bit of a concern, but we know that he's a really decent individual. This
Grant, not often you hear me, but I thought I trained him badly into the King's Plate. There was too much of a lull between his previous run and the King's Plate, and he's a very difficult individual. So even galloping him and things like that, it made it very hard work, and I really think I almost let him down. I could have done a better job. I should have galloped him closer to the race. The timing was all wrong into it, and we're here to get revenge, to be honest. If the right horse arrives, I can't see him getting beat, to be honest, in this sort of field. None of these horses over 7 furlongs. This is one of the hardest horses to beat in South Africa, over 7 furlongs. If the right horse arrives, I don't care what's in the race. They could have had the Metfield in here. He's a very imposing, impressive horse. And if you're not going to be confident with a horse, an individual like this, then when are you going to be confident in the way that the race is structured? We saw the race and it was like, yes, it's not a feature race, and what are we running for? But when on a day like this where there's thousands of people and it's possibly our biggest race in the country, race day, you want to win a race on the day. So he's there, and I really think we've got a great backup in get impressed. He's a horse that will just follow him from the wide draw, and he's primed for a big run at some stage, and I really hope it's here. But as I said, yes, sure, there's some other horses in the race, but this is a very, very smart individual.
You're sounding pretty bullish.
I have to be. When you see him, I rode him on the beach on Wednesday. I was hanging on. and as I said, I do think he disappointed in the King's Plate.
All right, brilliant. So there's some nice confidence coming from Justin Snaith regarding number 13, Snow Pilot. Mark, Snow Pilot for you?
Maybe not. I mean, look, his penultimate start was hugely impressive. He won by pole, and the speed figure was good. I mean, if he can repeat that, despite the wide draw and a lot of pace pressure from other horses in the race, then he will be extremely hard to beat. At the early prices, the Real Prince commands respect because I think he's a very, very smart horse, and he can be delivered with a smoothly timed challenge by Craig Zaki. His closing sectionals have been good, and 1400 suits ideally. So I think it's probably between those two, between the Real Prince and Snow Pilot. My marginal other choices would be Gaelic Dream, who likes to race handy, and he can work out a good stalk and pounce trip with a lightweight, so he may be able to burgle into the fray. And then an interesting one is Mo Capitano, because if you look at his sprint form over extended sprints, he's done well. And he now stretches out to 1400. There's also a query that maybe prefers soft ground. But the booking of Gavin Lorena, who's a high percentage jockey, is a sign of positive intent. So I wouldn't be totally surprised if Mo Capitano gets into the fray at a big price. But I think that it will most likely be fought out between the Real Prince and Snow Pilot.
All right, Real Prince certainly does have a few ticks to his box, and does look like he could be the biggest danger to Snow Pilot. Brett, you used to have Billy Bowlegs in your care. He's now moved stables recently to Eric Sands. Is he capable to win a race like this?
Grant, he's been off for quite a long time, and obviously it's his first run back. So, I think he's a horse that could run a fair race. But if you go purely on ratings, he's not well in at all with 61.5. I think the race is tailor-made for Snow Pilot. At some point you have to accept the ratings, and he's a 125 with 61.5. He's got the whole field under sufferance. So they all have to improve to be competitive. He just has to run to his rating. I think he's going to be better over the 7 furlongs. I say he's going to be a hard horse to beat. And I think if there's a horse that's going to put the pressure on him, I'm actually going to go with the 3-year-old. He's closest to him in the ratings. He gets, 5 kilos from him, or 6 kilos. So all out for 6 for me will be Justin's biggest danger. But I do think that Snow Pilot will be a very hard horse to beat on Saturday.
I can't not ask you for a comment on Futurist, who is one of those horses that if he decides to just rip it and go to the front, sometimes he's not that easy to catch.
Oh, Grant, you say that, but he has lost a little bit of his early speed, so he's been able to get there over 9 furlongs and 10 furlongs. I'm not convinced he's going to get anywhere close to the speed here in this race. So, his running style is to be handy, and also off a rating of just 107. So, obviously we're hopeful, but to be realistic, he's got a mountain to climb on Saturday.
Graeme?
Well, like I said, I think it's Sugar Mountain is the value. Snow Pilot is the clear, obvious first choice, and the Real Prince a lively threat.
You haven't changed your mind after hearing Justin?
No, I understand the confidence for Snow Pilot because he is the best horse in the race, as I said. But he's been, and this is his optimum trip. But I do think that that the Real Prince and Sugar Mountain will be there and thereabouts.
All right, fantastic. It really is a nice race, and we've got one more. We'll bring you at just after this. Final race for our World Pools Day here at Kenilworth Racecourse in sunny Cape Town, and it is a Class 4 handicap over 1,200 metres. And here's an interesting race because the betting suggests that it's wide open, and I think that's exactly how it's going to pan out as well. Justin, you've got Tough Terrain, who I think is probably the type of horse that could be competitive here.
It's one of the races where I don't have the favourite or the second favourite, and it's actually a race where I think the race is going to suit my runners. So very interesting listening to the panel about a horse earlier coming back from a wind up. And it's a big plus.
Yeah.
I think it was an iconic
Destination.
It is a big thing. Having a wind up on a horse and bringing it back and it does well and the operation is a success is a huge advantage to that horse. And I have a horse in this race, Unbaldi, who's had the same thing happen. And he came back needing a run and wasn't far off. And he's going to come on a lot from that race. And it just brings him into the equation. So if you're doing your permutations, he's a horse just to throw in. Don't leave him out because of that situation. And a horse like you mentioned now with tough terrain with ground. My only concern is this is round 22. I've been down this road so many times with this horse. I cannot set him up better for a big run. Last time, never saw daylight, as I've spoken about what happened on King's Plate. Never saw daylight, 1,200 meters, Grand Finnecac. Could easily pop up. There are horses with better form that can beat him, but he is a horse to throw in if you are going a little bit wide. You've got to put in some of these horses. They're all either head cases or have had issues and certainly can improve here. And I don't like any bit of this race. Any one of my horses here could rise to the occasion.
Just last time out, he was just put a line through that run. He had absolutely no chance.
Yeah, so do not leave him out of anything.
All right, Brett, in terms of the day for you, you've got Cavalry Commander, who looks to be quite an interesting runner.
Yeah, Granty's actually a very nice horse. Made good improvement from start 1 to start 2. He's shown further improvement at home. So, you know, first run out the maiden's never easy, but I do think he's a horse that definitely needs to be respected. He's doing exceptionally well, and we're expecting a competitive run. I think it's a very open race, but, you know, some of the more fancied horses are also dropping back in trip, which I'm not quite sure is going to be conducive to them. But, you know, Cavalry Commander, definitely a horse to include in your permutations.
Graeme, in terms of the race, it looks to be really open. The betting suggests that it's really open. Empire State's been knocking on the door. Does he come into your play?
Yeah, look, this is on a tough day's racing, on a challenging day's racing, this is one of the most difficult races on the card with the potential to spring a huge surprise. I'll come back to Empire State in a moment. My left field place selection is number 1, Sun Dazed, who keeps plummeting down the ratings. We haven't seen the best of him of late, but he always runs on. And in his most recent outings, he's been drawn towards the stand side of the Kenilworth track. The bias has been towards the inside. Now he jumps out of gate 1. He could get a nice toe into the race. And at huge odds, I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the top 4. Empire State, it worries me that he drops back to 1,200 meters. I know when he won his maiden, he won over 1,250. That was at Durbanville Racecourse. But he's got 62.5 on his back. So I think he's up against it. The US of A has got to be one of the leading lights, but he's drawn on the stand side of the track. Richard Faree rides. Nothing wrong with his form. Scottish Kiss was a runaway winner, could be better than rated. But I'm encouraged by what Justin had to say about Bell D, because I think that he's going to be a live wire. Stratham rides him, that's a plus. Cork Bay in a tough race is another that's got a bright chance. So this is not an easy way to end a really high quality day's racing. But I do think the US of A might be the one to beat. But the place value might lie with number 1, Sun Dazed.
Mark, you must be really excited that I'm coming to you to do the final wrap of this race.
It's a minefield, Grant. Really very difficult indeed. I went 10, 6, 7, 9 and 2 in my preview for the Hong Kong Jockey Club. Carrier Coup, admirably consistent. And, you know, he fits well at this class level. Doesn't win too often, though. But, you know, he should be able to give it a good crack. I was encouraged by what Justin said about Bell D, because he got a solid enough speed figure at his most recent start and is bound to come on significantly from that. War Chariot has been reported as coughing a few times. So that is a minor query, but his record in Class 3s withstands scrutiny, and he's actually run some nice numbers against Stronger. So he's one to include as well. Empire State, despite the steadier of 62.5, is another one to factor in. And then I also gave a mention to Tough Terrain, just on the basis that he's a hold-up horse. He goes well for Grant van Niekerk, who is familiar to Hong Kong racegoers. He had a very successful season there a couple of years ago, and he might be able to steer him into the money. But it is a particularly tough race, as all the other panelists have indicated.
I think what you have worked out is that it's going to be very competitive racing here in the Western Cape, and it might be very profitable as well. But let's find out from our panelists who they think will possibly be the best bet from their point of view, and maybe the best value bet as well. And I'll put Graeme on the spot first. Graeme, best bet?
8 on 18.
Okay, no pressure.
In the Cape Town Met, and
Best value?
Sugar Mountain.
Sugar Mountain. Okay, Brett?
You want from my yard or
No, what do you think on the day?
Snow Pilot?
Best bet?
Best bet.
Yeah.
And value bet Zapatias.
Okay, there's some interest. Zapatilis, one in the Cape Met. Mark?
Grant, I'm going to maybe go win and place about those value horses. Nordic Quest, Iconic Destination, The Real Prince. I know that hasn't quite answered your question, but to me that could be the strategic players. They're all at decent prices, and I think they should go well.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for agreeing to come and join us and giving us your insights. It looks set to be a cracking day's racing. And from our Will Pull viewers, we certainly hope that we've given you some insight on the card. And we look forward to being with you on Saturday. Thank you very much.
Complete the lineup. Kirkwood's gone in.
Western Rocket ready.
Horse Chestnut goes in. They're ready to race.
The World Sports Betting Cape Town Met, one of the most iconic horse racing events of all time. Crowds of enthusiastic fans and racegoers gather to soak up the glamour, excitement and entertainment. A day where fashion meets sport and the spirit of competition electrifies the air. For over a century, the World Sports Betting Cape Town Met has been a cornerstone of South African culture. It's a day where legends are born, dreams come alive, and history is made. With every thunderous stride, horses and jockeys write their names into racing folklore. Spectators are left breathless by the sheer spectacle of it all. Beyond the track, the Met is a celebration of life and style, where fine dining, dazzling fashion, and the pulse of live entertainment come together in perfect harmony. It is more than a race. It's a legacy etched into the spirit of horse racing. A celebration of champions, passion, and the stories that will forever captivate our hearts. Experience the magic that has made the World Sports Betting Cape Town Met an enduring symbol of greatness. Here's to the moments yet to come and the legends still waiting to be made.
Jet Dog got there where it mattered most.
Double Superlative has won the World Sports Betting Cape Town Met.